A single gunshot in the dead of night could change the world forever. In the still darkness of Lexington, shadows shifted and hearts pounded, for the air carried a warning of what was to come. Ordinary men, with nothing but courage and conviction, were about to challenge the might of an empire. No one knew who would fall, who would rise, or how the course of history would be rewritten, but one thing was certain: freedom was about to ignite, and nothing would ever be the same. For decades, the 13 colonies had lived under British authority, paying taxes, following regulations, and submitting to laws passed thousands of miles away. Yet they had grown prosperous, accustomed to self-governance, and confident in their own communities. Merchants, farmers, and artisans quietly protested, writing petitions, holding meetings, and sharing whispers of defiance. The Boston Tea Party, where colonists disguised as Mohawk Indians dumped crates of tea into the harbor, became a symbol of resistance. It was not merely about goods or money. It was about asserting that their voices mattered, that their freedoms were not negotiable. Tensions escalated, and by April 1775, confrontation became inevitable. At Lexington and Concord, the first shots rang out, and the Revolutionary War began. Ordinary men, armed with muskets, faced professional British soldiers. The first skirmishes tested courage, resolve, and organization. News of these clashes spread quickly, inspiring other colonies to prepare for a fight that would define generations. Militias trained, messages were sent secretly, and communities braced for a conflict that would demand immense sacrifice. George Washington emerged as a steady leader, commanding the Continental Army with patience, strategy, and unwavering determination. Leaders like Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin shaped the political and philosophical foundation of the Revolution, drafting documents and securing alliances that would support the fight for independence. Every battle, from the icy rivers of New Jersey to the forests of the South, tested the willpower of the colonists and demonstrated their capacity for resilience. The Continental Army endured harsh winters at Valley Forge, facing hunger, cold, and disease. Yet Washington's leadership transformed a ragtag group of farmers and tradesmen into disciplined soldiers. Small victories at Trenton and Princeton inspired hope, showing that courage and clever tactics could overcome overwhelming odds. In the South, leaders like Francis Marion employed guerrilla tactics, using knowledge of the terrain to counter British superiority. Every strategy, every risk, and every act of bravery built the foundation for the eventual triumph.
Women, children, enslaved people, and Native Americans all played roles in this struggle. Women carried supplies, nursed the wounded, and transmitted intelligence. Enslaved people made strategic choices, some joining the fight for freedom promised by the British, others fighting for the revolutionary cause, highlighting the complex realities of liberty and oppression. Native nations navigated alliances to protect their lands, caught between warring powers. These untold contributions shaped the revolution's course just as much as the famed battles and leaders. Foreign support proved decisive. Benjamin Franklin's diplomacy brought France into the conflict, supplying troops, naval power, and resources. This alliance culminated in the Siege of Yorktown in 1781, where British General Cornwallis surrendered to combined Franco-American forces. This decisive moment effectively ended major combat and ensured the colony's victory. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 formally recognized the independence of the United States of America. Colonists, once subjects of a distant empire, were now citizens of a new nation. Yet the work of building a country had only begun. Leaders drafted the Constitution, balancing federal and state powers. Social inequalities remained unresolved, with slavery continuing, women lacking formal political rights, and Native Americans largely excluded from the new government. Still, the ideals of freedom, justice, and self-governance formed the foundation of the fledgling republic. Independence was more than a legal declaration. It was the culmination of courage, sacrifice, and vision. Ordinary people, armed with principles, challenged an empire and succeeded. From the first shots in Lexington to the surrender at Yorktown, from clandestine diplomacy to daring battlefield maneuvers, every action contributed to the creation of a nation. Liberty, once a dream whispered in secret, had become a living reality, nurtured by the unwavering conviction of those willing to risk everything for the promise of a free future. As the sun set over the newly independent states, families rebuilt their lives, communities reflected on their sacrifices, and the people recognized the responsibility they now bore. Freedom demanded vigilance, unity, and courage, but it had been won. The American Revolution had not only forged a nation, it had proven that ordinary individuals, united by shared ideals and relentless determination, could change the course of history. This was the birth of a country, founded not merely on geography or conquest, but on the enduring belief that liberty is an inherent right, and that those brave enough to claim it could shape the destiny of generations to come.